Yo, 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 how we going out there? Welcome back to the Assorted Kiwi podcast, aka Origins. As you can probably tell by the backdrop, but hella different because we're on the road and it's exciting. This is probably the first one on the road outside of Auckland, which I'm stoked about because man, need to get out of Auckland. So got a special guest on the couch that isn't ours, but actually it is. Fun fact, it's the bro to the left's original couch, bro.
This was my couch.
Back
Crazy
in the
how
day.
things go full circle.
It's funny moment, eh? And just like shout out to the bros, Jake and Casper, aka Unwell and Young Ghost, for allowing us to kind of record this conversation here. Got a special guest to the left of me, Chris CK. Bro, welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
Of course.
I'm so glad to be your first on-road show. That feels really special.
It's cool, bro, because it's even more special because in like a couple of weeks from doing this, sort of Napier.
We got a fucking show.
It's gonna be sick, man. And that was kind of part of, man, I wanted to link up, bro. And actually just before the show, just kind of get to know your story a hell of a lot more. And hopefully people out there who are not too familiar with what you've done for, man, a long period of time can get familiar too and, learn more about you and look forward to coming to the show.
That's positive, man. Grill me. Ask me tough questions. I hope people get to know me by the time we done.
Yeah, that's right, man. I'm gonna be learning a lot more about you like over this journey, bro. So it's gonna be sick.
That's great. It's cool. First encounters you can't backtrack because they're all being caught on tape. That's awesome.
Exactly. So, bro, like for like people out there that not too familiar with like what Chris CK does, you're a musician, bro.
Yeah.
And I say musician and like overall artist because like nowadays or even like back when you first started, like it's more than just, if you're like rapping on the mic or anything like that, like musician in terms of what you do and bring on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But when did it all start for you, bro? Like particularly like when you were actually starting recording music, has it been like many years, like when you're quite younger? Or?
Man, it's been many years. I mean, I started like most people, I guess would have been, in my early teens, recording on like the family desktop, just to a shitty Logitech mic and Fruity Loops, or, like the old school version of Fruity Loops, like the one that when you made beats on it, you could tell they was from Fruity Loops, like the old school version.
And when was this, man? Like, was this like from hella way back before 2010?
Oh man,
late 2000s.
I mean, like 2003, 2004.
Which is like funny before we were having this like mean chat about like the G Unit and like 50 and all that sort of stuff.
Oh man,
around that time, like that, just like around the time when things were really bubbling here in this country, but then also overseas.
Yeah, I mean at that time I was living in the Netherlands. I believe, 2003, 2004, I was living in the Netherlands. My dad was working there, and so I went to high school there. Sort of figured out that I wanted to drop out of high school from there, and that music was what I wanted to pursue. So, a crazy time in terms of that. And like, G Unit was one of the things that actually made me switch genres.
What were you doing beforehand?
Playing a lot of guitar and drums, and like just like fronting various rock bands and writing like sort of. Like I guess you'd say like alternative sort of music, I guess, for lack of a better term. Rock and roll shit, and then something about like hip hop. Just it just I don't know. It just resonated with me in a special way, and I was like, yeah, this. Like I started listening to that kind of stuff, and I was like, a lot of the stuff I'm hearing sort of aligns with my life story. I could, I could definitely make content worth listening to out of this genre of music.
Outside of just playing like percussion or like instrumentation, but just how you felt and putting it into words and expressing yourself at all levels beyond just how you getting it out.
Yeah, totally.
Like patterns and stuff.
I just, like I'd always had sort of a passion for words and stuff, but just the way in rapping you could be so clever, I guess, really appealed to me. Like the way that you could just make things work, and it was kind of like doing a jigsaw puzzle, you know.
Yeah. In terms of techniques and like
Yeah.
styles and just like finding your own like kind of sound within it.
Oh yeah,
At a
totally.
young age,
Just
yeah.
figuring all that shit out, like, really helped me to come into my own. Really, just
So, and like it's kind of like a video game in a way. Like you're just kind of building your own sort of like RPG character in a way. But like with like taking all these like bits of like influence or like sounds from all different types of music, right?
Totally. And I mean, the other thing that really appealed as well was that, like, rap, as far as its commercialism, seems so larger than life in certain places. And I really liked the sort of hyperbolic nature of that shit in terms of, like, I'm a big fan of cartoons. So creating a rap persona for me was like creating my own cartoon character, for, I guess you could say.
That's the what sort of cartoons were you like really like back then? Like really like digging?
Man, Pinky and the Brain is one of my favorites.
Bro, man, that's one of those ones. When Joey Badass sampled that on 1999.
Oh, you're ahead,
Like,
yeah.
it's like one of those ones. Like man, this is like throwback to all those times I watching that on TV. This is old school kind of classics, man.
Yeah, Rocco's Modern Life. That's a big one for me, Rocco's Modern Life. It just basically all the Nickelodeon of that sort of era, like...
We've had depth and meaning, eh? Like
yeah,
kind of,
pre SpongeBob SquarePants.
yeah. Before when things got a little bit like too bikini bottom and like less like kind of sewage, like real monsters and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I fuck with the real monsters. I fuck with the real monsters. I always thought Ickis was amazing. How he was kind of like, really sort of reserved and shit and nervous on the surface, but then when you backed him into a corner, he was the baddest one of all of them.
Yeah, like kind of silent
really
assassin.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, do you think that he's kind of like one of those like favorite characters of drawing inspiration from? Man, cool, calm, reserved. Like man, like where we're at the moment, like you're cool, calm, and reserved, bro. It might be the fact that got something nice on your their fingers right there.
I got.
But like
I
on the
got
mic
doing
and
the work, but generally in the public forum, I am very relaxed and chill.
But when you head on stage, bro, it's like something else. And when you backed into a corner of like,
I
really
would have
expressing
never
yourself.
thought of that. I would have never ever thought of that. But yeah, I guess I do take a lot of inspiration from Ickis, man.
Man, Ickis is one of those ones. No, that's dope, bro. But like when did you from Netherlands over? Like when did you first get into New Zealand, Aotearoa? When did that happen? Because
Well,
how old were you when you were listening to?
I'm adopted by New Zealanders, so I grew up here, and I came here for the first time when I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
And so kind of moved back and forth.
Oh, okay, got you.
So New Zealand is really my home. Like this is where I sort of, I guess if I could say I fuck up to anywhere, this is where I created myself. So
exactly. So it isn't anything new, right?
No,
like,
no,
isn't
no,
you just
this
come
is
over?
like-
You've been here like.
No, I've been here since 1990. This is I go deep.
Yeah,
It's been here longer than me.
yeah, man.
yeah.
Oh, that. No, that's.
I've been here longer than most of the people
Exactly.
like actively releasing at the moment.
Yeah. Or like actively talking at the moment as well.
Mm.
Or just general, like not even just like hip hop, or just like just music in general.
Oh yeah,
Like
totally.
you've been here, like, because like that's when I've like seen like in recent like times like you're like collaborating with a lot of people like outside of like just pure hip hop, but it's people who have just been making music and good sounding like tunes in this country for a hell of a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean that's like, I think that's important to me. Just having the scope of like music in its entirety, rather than trying to like box into just one genre. Like where I'm a rapper, yes, and everything that I do is rapping. I find that I like to be involved with things that create a different palette for it than you might be used to. So bringing my flavor to like second line music, like with the stuff I do with Richter City Rebels, or the stuff I do with Raw Collective, which is a 10-piece band. So you're trying to just slot your way in there and do all you can, but there's so much palette going on that you only have to do so much.
And not only in terms of your voice, but just in terms of what you bring with those like rhythms of how you got into music to begin with, right? Like
Totally.
different like just instruments, but like using like kind of what you want to say on the mic, but trying to translate that, not trying but succeeding in terms of like different sounds and different palettes.
Well, I think, I think rapping is like, it's a percussive
It's
act.
bass. It's quite bassy.
To be a good rapper, you gotta, to be a good rapper, in my opinion, I should say, you need to find the pocket. And I think my background with playing drums and stuff maybe helped with that, and finding like right where right where a rap can sit in the palette that it's being presented against.
That's crazy. It's like you speak about like Raw Collective, and I mean that's where like for me the first time ever seen you perform will be like sort of Napier like or like April 8th, but having that like full on like live instrumentation is quite important in terms of how you perform, right? That's probably where you feel the most comfortable.
Yeah, that's definitely where I feel the most comfortable, just because I feel like it's where you can get the most dynamic range. Yeah. So if, like, I'm very sort of emotive, and I guess I've always kind of said, well, pre-therapy I used to say, because now I'm in therapy. Hashtag therapy is good for you.
Good for you.
But what I used to say before is I find music to be like my leather couch, so, like, that's where I emote, that's where I do my thing. So when I, when I just have a DJ or something like that, I find that I can't call things in the emotion, in whatever emotional state or whatever emotional pocket I'm finding.
Because you have to connect or try and communicate silently with that person. Whereas if you know what you're kind of doing into the playing on the MPC or...
I mean that, but more that you can't control it. Like, like there is, like playing with the DJ, all you're going to get is like a pullback, a stop-start, some dub outs. Like, not to disrespect, there's people that play with DJs and do a great job.
The track's already made. They're playing with already pre-made tracks.
Yeah, exactly. So what is there, and there's only gonna be so far you can go. I mean, a great example of doing a fucking great job is the homies Ghost and Dave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The band.
And Alphabet.
And just in terms of how like the improv, in terms of
what I mean, like they get it going on, but that's like some next level shit. So I've only ever been able to crack that kind of thing by having full dynamic control of being able to, like call it on the fly, which is real cool. And
call on the fly within yourself in terms of how you...
Yeah, just what kind of day I'm having, some days you're having a real shitty day.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to bring that up. So, I mean, it's something that we're talking about, Jake, like about just like how music is it's first and foremost, it's like people do it. It's a way, like you said, that leather couch, that therapy session. It's a way to like kind of get how you're feeling out there. So by doing everything kind of you have control on, you can ensure that what you're getting or what you're presenting to other people is kind of true, how you're feeling at that point in time. Yeah. Whether it's soundscape or lyrically or whatever it is, but there's full-on musical presentation here.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just one of these things where, like, you got to go out there and you got to do the tracks you do, right? Like, you got to go out there and you got to do the show that you're being, asked to do, being contracted to do, whatever, So that sometimes doesn't leave a lot of space for how you're actually feeling that day. So I find by keeping around musicians and keeping it, like, with people that can react in real time, it leaves me more space for, like, the way that I want to emote, And I think, actually, since we've been, like, locking down and, like, things have been slowed up a little bit, I've realized how therapeutic the shit is. Because before it, like, before we started locking down and doing traffic light systems or whatnot, I was in a place where I was really, like, sort of resenting and going and doing it. But now, with, like, less of it going on, I realize how much I need it for my mental health, I guess.
Actually locking in for yourself and really just...
Yeah. Like, I need this shit. I need to be able to emote in this way. Yeah. To be able to, like, just let all my shit off from this week and all the stuff and all the,
Yeah, man. That's what we're saying, Jake, the other night. It's like whenever you're creating something, it's like kind of a representation of maybe just getting something off, whether it's doesn't have to be lyrically or doesn't even have to be lyrics. It could just be like the types of beats that you're wanting to just, man, the sounds that you're wanting to hear.
Oh yeah.
That time to kind of make you feel like, it's like writing something in your diary. It's your expression to kind of be able to like listen back to you and like, man, I did that. Like, but that's how I was feeling. And I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
And
totally.
like play it back in the mirror form, but it's in audio form.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, yo, listening to your own music back and the amount that you have to listen to your own music back before you give it to other people, like, that'll tell you some shit about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're
That shit'll let you know about yourself. Like, you know what kind of day you're having when you made what kind of beat you made, Jake, or no,
Yeah.
Jay,
Yeah.
or I'm sitting here with two badass producers out of frame, Jay,
Yeah.
or no. Like, you can listen to something you made 6 months ago and kind of know what kind of day you were having, right?
Yeah, of course.
100%.
You know, like, it is really your diary. It is really, like, you know,
Yeah.
the way you go through it. And it doesn't have to be a lyrical thing. It
Yeah.
can be like a soundscape thing, you know. I make beats too, so I get, like, you know, sometimes it's, in fact, 9 times out of 10 with me, it's not the rapping. The rapping is like the icing on the cake, really, as far as I'm concerned. It's usually about creating the soundscape.
Yeah, and it's like I've probably learnt that personally over the last like year. Yeah, see, living with Jay and the people who really like kind of like do a lot of self-producing themselves, and like been awesome, like being in this crib as well with like Jake and really having those yarns of having a deeper understanding of the sound and how powerful it is in terms of triggering emotional response from yourself but other people, and how important that is, in terms of just like it's why songs connected at such a higher level because of just the emotion that it does trigger,
Oh, totally. Well, I mean, I find, like, for me, the feedback is the thing. Like, you never know what your shit could mean to somebody. You know, like, you never know which jam is the jam. Like, and it's just a weird thing. Like, when something means something to you, it might not mean the same thing to the artist that made that shit. And vice versa.
Could mean more to someone than the artist itself. Like, if,
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah.
Totally. That's why I just commit to doing the shit and making the shit, because you never know.
Yeah.
You never know who needed what when, or, how people feel about shit.
Yeah, just keep creating, keep releasing,
Well, yeah,
making
that shit
to
is,
kind of connect with people and
the more
spread how you
emotions that are out there in the stratosphere, the better. Almost, if they give someone a good feeling.
Totally, man. Totally. And we're in a time when people need to feel good.
It's quite hard, like, at this point in time. I know we were talking about in the car of, ask that question, man, this year. Now you've personally had your own change, like where, definitely since you've kind of really started releasing music and making, kind of doing a lot of like live show performances when you first started to the last 2 years. There's been a lot of change that's probably outside of COVID that's made you have to slow down, but in turn be more reflective, like you were saying, like kind of not be doing a huge amount of shows because you've been busy with a relatively newborn kid, right?
Yeah, becoming a parent changes everything.
Yeah.
Let me look right down the camera when I say no more freebies. None.
No.
Diapers are like buying gas. That shit is expensive. No more freebies, bro. Not ever, 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 ever. I don't care who it is or what platform you have.
No.
So now I've got that part out the way. No, having a kid changes everything. Just like in terms of like how serious you want to take things, what kind of time you have to do things. You don't want to be away from home as much.
Yeah, there's the things of like, it's not just a hobby.
Oh yeah.
As when you said it when we were like down having a few beers, it's not a hobby to you. It's how you do it.
Anybody that's watching this and is actually familiar with me as a person knows I have been very complacent with my career in terms of like like sitting on the edge of it because there's aspects of it that I don't enjoy.
And what aspects of the things you don't enjoy? Just a lot of the, just.
I mean, we don't need to get into that kind of negativity in break
not
form.
not
in
that. I
break
mean,
form. I just feel, like everybody knows there's aspects of the industry and aspects of like trying to go out and make music that sucks.
Yeah.
Like some of the politics involved and
well, I mean,
the way shit actually works and how much money you actually have to have and what you have to do to get funding and
the who you know and stuff.
The hoops you have to jump through to, achieve what you want to achieve. I've been very complacent with my career and where I've sat, but becoming a parent has made me slightly change my view on what I want to achieve. So,
in terms of what you want to achieve in your art form, of like, man, give you a hell of a lot more focus. Like, I haven't got a kid, but I can imagine from. It's just one of those things. Of man, like this is something I'm really passionate about, but. You've got that, like, even the deeper purpose of having a kid.
I think, like, it's interesting what happens when you get singular focus. Because for me, I've had my child and that has become singular focus. Like, from now on, it doesn't matter what I'm doing to make a living. All my money is going to the same place. Yeah. Or whatever I do from here on out, it belongs to her. So now I feel like, music can be a thing. I've seen it be a thing for many friends and acquaintances around me for a long time. I just want to give it one good shot to try and leave my daughter some stake in this life. Because I'm good at this music thing. So, it's silly to short myself because I'm not making the correct business moves.
Or just like feeling like there's some unfinished business to a degree.
Yeah, or just putting the work in, really. Yeah. Just putting the work in and doing the things I had to do. Paying people for mixing and mastering and those kind of things. Yeah.
And more of that kind of stuff that, like, when you're out there creating, like, can sometimes be a bit hard. A lot of that kind of business, particularly if you are an independent artist, like so many people are in this country, where not really like answering to a label, right?
No.
Doing everything by yourself. So
no.
A lot of the people that are out there, like, and shout out to everyone out there, like, doing everything out there by themselves, because what? Maybe talk about that, bro. Like, what's that been, that journey of? I'm sure, like, over those times you've had those kind of conversations of, as you said, the things that you don't necessarily like about the music industry, like all those politics and stuff. But you probably had some freaking insane, like, learnings of, like, being an independent artist, of different things that you've kind of gone through. Like, paint the picture for someone that started, like, in an era where it wasn't fully digital, right? Like,
no.
You know what I mean? Like, well,
no, that was like a learning curve.
Yeah.
This shit is still an ever-changing learning curve. Like, the streaming services have changed the game. For me, shit, it started. I guess it started in pursuit of a record deal. At a time, the pursuit of a record deal was everything you wanted. But I think in that time, I personally didn't know how you made an album at that time.
You were still learning, kind of like finding yourself or creating your cartoon character in a way, like you're just, I just want to make music or create.
Yeah, I'm just bouncing off the walls. I don't know how the fuck I didn't know how the fuck you make an album. But also at that time, it was a lot more secretive.
Elusive in the terms of, like, it wasn't as transparent as what it is now.
Yeah, totally. Like, you didn't like, when I first wanted to do things and someone put, like, a computer in front of me and, like, I wanted to do shit, I was like, what the fuck do you do with this? Because it wasn't really, like, nowhere to really know unless someone was willing to show you, like, what to do. Nowadays, like, that shit, like, is at your fingertips. Like, everybody will show you everything.
Like, it's like one of those, like, well, man, people would like show you everything in terms of their lives, but like the information is readily available like on things like YouTube or anything. Whereas back then, I'm sure like coming up, then you have to like kind of meet someone who is kind of like real talented at that.
Yeah, you gotta meet
Get that all the
that
studio
know.
time, all that sort of stuff. Where those are different hoops. Take away all this funding stuff now, but like just actual graft and the grind to even get your stuff recorded isn't as easy as what we're doing now. Like I'm just a DIY. I just brought it, but we're recording for a microphone and something on our phone that fucking completely different now.
Yeah, totally. But you see, like, you know, like all this shit came in a, you know, come in a box, ready to go, you know, ready to go.
It was back then.
You know, like, didn't nobody know nothing about that.
Yeah, no, back then it wasn't. So what was that journey
Well,
like? What was your first setup apart from like kind of like Logitech type speakers? Like, all right, it's insane.
Dude, I still got the same. I still got the same interface to this day.
Is the one that it's just like beyond? Is this something that you like use because you're comfortable with it, or was it just means this is one of those things that does the job? Or
I don't know. I mean, because I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I guess it's because it's the thing I use, but also like, I don't know. It just does what I need it to do.
Yeah.
It has not yet ceased to like do the thing I want it to. You know, like
exactly. You don't have to like go out and like, man, I need to go to a Flash like Boom studio or anything like that. Like,
well,
just do.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know. For where I can get it to, I'm always going somewhere else eventually. Like, I don't cut like my own end. Like, you know, like the versions I do are not the ones that you. Are not the ones that I will put out, or the ones that I have put out. You know, like if it's something that's going to be put out, I'm always somewhere else anyway. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really, you know. I don't really ever want to go to big studios unless that shit is on someone else's money. Yeah. But that's just me.
Yeah, and is that like, it's probably like something that it's probably like changed in terms of that point of accessibility, in terms of technology now. But like around that time in the last 10 years, man, how you linked up with Jay, like around that time there was a lot of stuff happening, really, like in hip hop, and from outside looking in, like I'm not gonna say that like I know the deepest history of how it all started. Like in the last 10 years, there's been so many acts that you kind of alluded to, the people that you've looked at in peers and whether you've been complacent or not, who've in that last 10-year era that you've seen grow. Like from nothing to this. Yeah, so like, but that's kind of in a way like this massive golden era of it in this last 10 years of being able to kind of do a lot of stuff by yourself, and the beauty of independence and not necessarily having to have a label.
Yeah, totally.
And like the power that you have where you don't necessarily need to do shit. Like, man, if I want to create, I'm going to create now.
Yeah, and there's kind of like, and there's a lot of beauty in that, where people may have been initially hesitant, you know.
They thought they needed to have something else to get it done.
Yeah, totally. But now, like, fuck no, man. Like, fuck no. Motherfuckers putting out bangers from the bedroom. Like, for real. Like, I shit you not. Like, I don't know, man. Like, anybody can do anything from anywhere. Yeah. You know, and I've seen it.
And just like all forms of music, it's not even, or just anything. Yeah. Like what we're doing right now, it's like, totally. Man, we don't need a studio to do it. Like,
no, you can do anything from anywhere.
Yeah. Amazing like parts of technology, eh?
Totally.
That's crazy. This is a very random question.
Yes.
But
I like those.
It's random because it's sort of Kiwi is kind of random, but like Raw Collective.
Yeah.
And also there's like Raw Collective and there's like Slim Loco.
Yeah.
And like acts like that.
Yeah.
Like for me, like when I listen to like acts like that, it's like the collaborators who like really like look, or the kind of acts that really like take instruments seriously in a way I have that understanding. Like, do you feel like just having that like just those kind of like connections with those sorts of people, like bring the best out of you in terms of those kind of collaborative relationships? I know we're kind of a little bit of a segue, but
Well, to be honest, for me, to be honest, those relationships make me feel comfortable.
yeah,
You know.
because you're saying like give you enough space because of kind of how you
Yeah.
came up there.
Yeah, it just makes me feel comfortable, and also, like, this Wellington music that I represent, you know, like this Wellington that I represent, you know, anybody that knows anything about Wellington music and the shit that comes out of here, like, to me, to me, on this playing field, you have to be doing that. Like, that is what you have to do to be able to, like, set yourself apart and to and be able to compete.
Yeah, at that high level of being of respect.
Well, respect, but
or
also
just
I just
quality
think
of music.
having a shot at certain shit, like, especially coming from down here, I mean, you see a lot of people that are playing a lot of shit down here.
Like different types of bands,
Different types
sounds.
of all sorts,
Yeah.
you know, like all sorts of shit. Like heads be living down here.
Like come from like metal backgrounds, but then transitioned to hip hop or things like that, or
Oh,
like you were
just-
saying, like kind of doing a lot of like
Yeah.
band stuff and then like thinking,
Yeah, like
you know, transitioning into doing more, incorporating more rap into your performance.
live music is like the scene down here. Like that's more like
more
that,
rich.
that's like a lot of the vibe. Like people playing shows down here of all different natures is sort of the vibe. So to kind of get in on that, I've always wanted to be around that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the people who actually are performing in a live environment
Yeah.
at a higher level, because
Yeah,
that's when you actually are performing right in front of people.
yeah.
That kind of can make or break
Totally.
you in a way, right?
Well, for me, especially as someone that doesn't like to like really like release music like that,
Yeah.
I enjoy just being in the moment and doing the thing and seeing if my little musings from my bedroom go over nicely.
Just like, and
You
just like
know?
relate to people.
Or like just like, well, you know, relate to people, let them relate to me, see if that shit worked or if that shit didn't work. Like, you know, like living in that moment, you know whether you got the shit or whether you don't got the shit.
It's like kind of testing environments.
Yeah, totally.
As I remember, like watching like a Tiki, Shapey interview, or maybe it's a Tiki interview where they're talking about, man, the art of live performing isn't just like playing song to song, but it's and just reading the crowd, and when they're like live engineering, like, you know, they're not like communicating like through hit pieces, they're just actually reading the room back in those early days, where they have to actually, man, okay, we need to actually like change the pitch of this up, like, and change the song up, like maybe put this like bridge out a little bit longer, or this outro a little bit longer. You
Yeah.
do more like, man, like let's ride this out.
Yeah, I mean, when you out there and you got people to like react to shit, that'll let you know. You know, that'll let you know. Like, I'll be looking at shows like, I'll be doing my post game tapes, man, and like figuring my shit out. Like, I really do. Like, I take it serious.
Yeah, like a bit like kind of
You know?
like how Izzy does it with the MMA, like kind of really like, man, I've been watching a lot of like, he just nerds out to the point where
Yeah,
I've only started getting into MMA like thanks to like Jay and Billy, but like just the fact of, man, he looks at every single game to the point of like, man, he knows everything.
I would believe it.
And do you do that though? But like, who are you probably in the Wellington scene? Like, who are the people that you were kind of looking up to in a way of drawing that inspiration from, outside of kind of your peer group or other people that are doing around a similar time as you? Like, what were those kind of notable like performances that you went to before you even, man, okay, shit, I can do this?
Oh man, there was
Maybe a lot.
there was a lot of shit. Like, how far back do you want to go? I saw Shihad play at Town Hall when I was probably, would have been like maybe 14 or something like that. And Weta opened for that shit, and that was the meanest show that was like one of the dopest things I've ever seen to this day. Was fucking ill, and I was like, yo, yeah, that.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to be doing that.
some incarnation of that. Like, yeah, I want to do that shit.
In terms of how it made you felt, but like how like the energy, you were still geeking and buzzing about it like after the fact.
Yo,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I want to have
like,
that feeling.
Yeah,
And make other people have that feeling too.
yeah, I want to make people feel like that. I want to do that. I want to bring, like that kind of energy. Like I want to, emote with people that way. That seems like a cool way to
And
have
you should know people should
conversations.
do that shit for a living, eh?
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's someone's job?
yeah,
Fucking,
yeah.
like,
And that's what the fuck they do.
Make people happy.
like, do like music and like dance and sing and DJ and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what the
crazy.
fuck people do. Like figuring out like, yo, people get paid for that too. Like that was another turning point. Like,
And it's a
yo, that's like really your job. Like you, like yo, that's all you do. Like and as you find out that can get more and more abstract and people make money in all kind of weird ways, you're like, yeah, I want to do that.
And then to the point now where it's so many different like avenues from the world of music that there's so many different moving parts. Yeah, like there's a lot of like people like maybe talking about before, like that point of entry now of like being able to have an interest in music. It isn't just that you know someone, it's just being able to like get in and get it done.
Oh yeah. Now if you have the passion, there's places you can go.
Yeah, and you're connected with everyone else in the world.
And you're connected with every single person that has a YouTube channel and wants to show you a tutorial on how to do some shit. Or, YouTube University is a real thing, dude.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's like a lot of us are just like watching and studying. We're outside of music.
Like,
it's life shit.
Like, I'm willing to wager that all three of us dudes sitting here right now that all make beats have all learned some key thing that, like, made some shit click off YouTube. I'm willing to wait, I'll bet my last dollar on that shit, you know what I mean? So now you don't need nothing but the passion to go do that shit.
And yourself.
Because the knowledge is there.
Yeah, you just need the internet,
Yeah, totally.
Like, it's probably like one of, like, I get your point about that. One thing that I feel, and even like connecting and talking to you, and it's clear with the people that like, I've become mates with in the last year, who, two of them in this room, and one other one, like Billy, shout out 650. It's the power of like, and I see it because I'm blessed enough for it to happen to myself, but speak on like the power of relationships, bro, and just in general, bro, because I mean, like, yeah, you could have all the tools, and yeah, you could have like, you could have the most banning stuff, but like what's the power of relationships? Of that, how's that importance? How have you learnt about that over the time that you've been like in the scene? Like,
man, I don't know how real I can be about this, actually, but like, I am of two schools of thought, so you're gonna have to bear with me on this.
No, we're bad.
You're gonna have to strap in with me for this, because I'm sort of two minds about it. I'm sort of like, yo, fuck it all. At the end of the day, it'll always come down to just business.
Yeah.
But then also, like, make music with your real friends and go chase the bag together. Cause like, your real friends, like your real friends, go make music with those motherfuckers if they're so inclined. Cause then, at least, I guess, for the time being that your friendship will endure, you're at least being honest with each other in your creative process. And you don't have to worry about no weird shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's like interesting, not interesting, but like the fact that I just wanted you to say that like one part where you said like outside of us recording, where it was just that, man, working with the people that like know you the best, all your friends, but the fact that like you can, they're the ones that do know you the best, to the point where, man, if you are collaborating, whether it's mixing or producing or beats or performing live, maybe know your rhythm.
I feel like to truly get in the collaborative process, like in a certain way, of a certain, I don't know, like to approach the shit a certain way, you want to be friends with people.
Because that's how the greatest, collaborators kind of be able to do stuff. Whether it's like that, the producer over the MC or, like duos and any or groups in general, right? They came from nothing, like you said, like get the bag together.
Yeah,
it's like uplift one
other
person to
I
another
don't know.
person.
You just want to be homies with people. Like, also, this shit takes a lot. Like
that support.
This music shit takes a lot. Like, being in the van with 10 motherfuckers is no joke. Like, is no joke. Shout out Raw Collective. But I mean, like, you want to be friends with people and like that you're actually working with because it takes a lot. So you gotta be able to tolerate a motherfucker, bro.
Yeah.
You better be real homies because if you pursuing this shit together,
Yeah. Exactly. It would test you. And that's where I found what I've learned, like, just in terms of how you were saying, like, man, yeah, you can make stuff in your bedroom. But when it comes to, like, the school where you come from in terms of being out on the road, where, like, usually, like, making music, like, live right in front of people, like, man, you got to be ready, you to pull up and do stuff. I mean, you got to be ready for the stuff that people see on stage and then other stuff as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
it's no joke.
I mean, the stage is only one part of it.
Yeah. It's the whole journey, yeah.
The stage is very little of it, to be honest. There's been occasions where I spent more time in sound check than on the stage. You know what I mean? A few. Jay could probably speak to mad of those. Like, spend mad longer in sound check than the 45 you do on the stage. Like, oh God.
It isn't just like going out there and just like rocking. It's like, man, like you care about everything you do.
So why do I have to hang with these people in sound check?
Yeah, sometimes, bro, sometimes. That's real. Jason, why do I have to hang with these people in sound check? It's too real. But yeah, all that to just say, like, do this shit with the people that you care about, that you actually can build business with and, like, break bread with and be able to spend time around.
Yeah. Because if you don't know, with, like, people who, like, have, like, kind of ill intentions of other things, man, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's either going to end, like, there or there, and those two places is not necessarily where either one of you want to go.
I mean, it's funny what makes shit end, but, but it's, a lot of the time, it's like soured friendships and shit. So if you can figure out how to stay friends while doing this shit, yeah, go for gold.
Yeah, like that, bro. But, like, what's coming, like, you were saying, like, before, at least by the end of the year, I know, we've got the show where it's quite cool that, like, for a show where I can see that, like, you guys are all connected in some shape or form, right, to what we were just talking about, like,
a lot
being
of us,
homies.
Yeah. A lot of us, yeah.
And for me, outside looking in, I'm not going to be on stage, like, doing anything, but from me understanding from outside looking in, where there's no real degrees of separation.
Nah.
Which is going to be, like, quite a special show. Like,
no, that's rare. That's rare.
It's quite rare.
I'm actually really, really hyped for it.
I mean, it's like it's just quite cool where it's like quite eclectic, but outside of, like, that show and balancing, like, just like doing everything you can just for daughter as well, like.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of, you kind of are in go mode. You kind of said it earlier on, like, I really want to do this. Like, not that you already have been doing it, but, like, to the point of, this is what's coming forward. You're looking to the blank wall.
I don't want to, I don't want to overstate anything because that shit sucks, and that shit is also super, like, lame when that shit happens.
It's not necessarily that.
Like,
just the intention.
I intend to release some music by the end of the year. I mean, that sounds very I don't know. I should try and sell it better. I intend to release music by the end of the year. Nah, but that's the plan though.
Yeah.
Put some shit out.
Just in the way of like, yo, hey,
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Yeah, totally. Like I gotta
I'm
put
not
some
going
shit
anywhere.
out. Yeah, totally. Like I gotta put some shit out. I gotta do some shit. Like also just like very good therapeutic process. Like
Yeah.
good thing to be doing with my off time. That's
And I think it's,
stay inside.
when was the last stuff that you had actually released?
The fuck is the last thing I put out?
What was the last, like, say like a full body project from yourself
Oh,
that you had put out?
never, ever. Oh, there is one, but I won't count it. I'm not
Okay.
gonna count it.
And how long was that?
A very long
Very
time
long
ago.
time ago.
That was a very long time ago.
And like,
You could almost count me a different person.
so like, that's what I'm kind of getting to, bro. Like, I'm like kind of a firm believer, bro, about like people that have talent who, they've already proven it before, time and time again, and different to the people that like either they look up to or they've had the opportunity to kind of like build with, but just because like someone like hasn't put out a lot of stuff for a long period of time, don't think they fucking don't have it anymore. What do you think they've been doing if they've just love like creating?
I mean, some motherfuckers don't got it, but a lot of motherfuckers do got it.
Exactly, and it's the
And
ones that
just
do
are
got it that
disillusioned with
but the ones who got it and not, may have not released anything. It's not that they don't want to release it. It's not that they're not creating stuff at all. So life gets throws curveballs and things like that. But it's one of those things of like the silent assassins, bro.
I'm always gonna create.
It's the Ekans, bro. It's the
It's the ickers. Yeah, it's the ickers.
It's the ones where like, man, don't think that like you stop writing or stop creating. Like when you do create it, when you do put it out, whenever it is ready, people will know.
I mean, I enjoy making this shit, man. I don't really I don't know, man.
Talking about.
I like making it. I don't know. There's just so much of it that I'm like, yeah, not this bit.
Or is like those things that you're saying, the things that you don't like at all about the music stuff, like.
Yeah, if I like making it, like if anybody wants to come help me manage this shit, like by all means, step in. Like we'll fucking, superimpose some information where you can reach me if you want to fucking come help me manage this shit.
But
fuck that, but I write songs and I write great songs, but
It's the.
Self-managing? No, thank you.
Right. So that's the kind of the things that you like, very like, you have to actually do it to the point of, you actually have to do it to actually realise that you can't just just release one song, you're like, I need a manager. But no.
Yeah, for real.
And there's like so much I think times, and it's probably me getting on a little bit of just, I see it a lot. It's like, man, how about just go out and explore your own sound before you even determine that you need someone out. No, you got to the point, man. What you like and what you don't like. Is it?
Yeah, I think I don't know though. It was kind of gangster how those homies pulled up with their dude, and they was just like, yo, this dude does logistics.
Oh, bro, that was gangster as well.
I was like, I've never seen anything quite like that on the first meeting.
But it was,
trust me, I'd be chilling with a lot of people of a lot of types.
I was impressed with it.
I was impressed by the fact that those homies had somebody that just be handling their shit.
We're just like the guy who, there was one guy, he wasn't the beat maker, he wasn't the MC. He was I said, bro, do you drive? And he was like, yeah, bro, I drive. And he was amped about it. And I was like, yo, I like driving too, bro. Bro, you're on. And so it's
that's real, bro.
I love it shit. But it's one of the things is those units. But it's collaboration of beyond an art form where you have people that you trust. Right? And it's probably the things that not speaking for you, it's thrown out there, maybe out of you, where you can probably slam dunk it or just confirm. But there's a lot of fake people out there, bro. That probably just don't give a shit or have ill intentions, but like it's pretty rare, like you said about the lineup, where like a show like that, I mean, you've built solid relationships with.
Man,
Where,
that's
like you
just
can actually connect with. That comes off the strength of doing all that work to the point of testing things, and people come through, and you've rinsed it like a sponge. And
bro. No matter what happens at this show, if I drink too much on like dead off duty mode and tank this show, it'll still be the best time that I've had in ages because of the homies that you've somehow got on this lineup.
well, just a credit to Billy, who's not down on the road trip at the moment.
Right.
So shout out to our bro Billy, 650, and Jay. Like, I mean, it's always a team effort, and everyone else who supports everything that we do, because it's not like one person, it's not two people, it's not three. It's one of the things. It's like the importance of having, like the homies that pulled up when we were having a beer. It's like these like mini communities of people that like will support and just do shit.
Yeah, for real.
That's kind of when you look at like what's inspiring of the people that you look up to, or I look up to. It's like we're not just one person. We might be faces of it, but man, it would be so hard and isolating if you just did it by yourself. Because who are you gonna share those memories with?
Yo, more power to everybody that like puts on shows, yo. Like more power to everybody that like balls up and puts it all on putting on shows.
Yeah.
Like for real though.
This one's the first time I've ever been involved in anything like that, so I'm gonna learn a lot along the way. But like just to be being around people that like actually have done it before, who like just are amazing. Like, and it's a very blessed moment for all of us, where it's a long period of time where you can actually like test and do shit, man.
Bro, shout out to my homie actually. Shout out to my homie DJ Please that used to put on the dopest hip hop shows. That used to put on the dopest hip hop shows. Like right on like rap groups from New Zealand being on the cusp of like going on to really, really do their shit. Please used to bring motherfuckers to Company
The coast.
to play shows. Like, I say that to say, like, just shout out to people that put it all on the line to put a show on. Because, like, that shit don't happen like it used to happen. I mean, for, you know, like, an array of reasons. We're in a brave new world. But even before, you know, the Dark Traveler came and shit, I was noticing people weren't really, like, promoting just as much. So, like, shout out to all the artists that, like, put their own shows on, or shout out to the bros that like want to put lineups together and see their homies do their thing, man. Because like that shit is an important thing in this.
And that's probably where, like I was saying probably earlier on in the convo, like that last 10 years, particularly in that point where you met Jay and Billy and things like that, where it's documented. they've put on shows. They've done it.
God, I hope it isn't documented.
Yeah. No, but I mean.
God, I hope it isn't documented.
No, I mean it was the effect of like putting on shows and putting homies
Oh,
on
yeah,
and all that sort of stuff,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. That part, yeah. The music part, yeah.
Music part, and just actually putting on shows though for like the people that you're collaborating with.
Oh yeah, man.
And it's what made everything so great around that last 10 years.
There've been some shows, yeah. That has been a lot of what made shit great.
Yeah.
It's the shows we got to do and the places that you get to go and the people you meet through doing that shit. Like that is really like that's the trip.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably maybe an insight for any new artist out there. It's like if it's like you mentioned Young Ghost and Alphabet Head in terms of their live performances, but they really see the value in terms of like live performing. And
that is some world class shit.
Hard out.
That is some world class shit.
I haven't seen it, bro, and I'm gutted. I've been in the right place to see that Bad Taste show, but I respect that album. I see it
Dude,
from not
when
being.
you see it, that shit is like otherworldly crazy, bro. And I seen them do it to the most unappreciative crowd somewhere, dude. Shout out to them
Yeah.
for playing before us at this thing, this weird thing that I'm not going,
Yeah.
that I don't want to put on blast too hard.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah. But they played to like a very unappreciative crowd, and I didn't take kindly to that. So
Just for someone who actually understands the,
and so
the
then
art of it.
when we got up, I was antagonistic of them.
Yeah.
And it was just a very strange evening. But so to say that they are the illest thing, ever. They are the illest thing ever. I have seen it when people see it. Like, you know,
From a hip hop perspective, it's a real ode to that era that like man, we all grew up on. Of like, man, it's not just make music and put it out on streaming services, but man, you have to live it and you have to go and do that.
Yeah, like,
You know, really connect with people face to face. It isn't just in the digital realm on your phone.
nah, like they support that shit. Like I feel like the album is only 50% of what that is. Like
Oh,
they, you know, like both Casper and Dave, I know take this shit serious in a way to the point that like, you know, they wouldn't let themselves down like that. You know, like they're fucking like that's some shit. Everybody go see Bad Taste when they're allowed to tour and stuff.
Yeah, bro. No, shout out. And honestly, listen to Bad Taste. And rumour has it, it's not rumour, it's put out. Bad Taste 2 is on the way, and I'm personally looking forward to it because that was personally one of my favourite albums that he dropped last year. And I was just, again, man, I'm just looking forward to it.
Unequivocally, bro, that's like, that was it. That was it. I mean, there were some things, but that's the one.
For the Wellington scene as well, and the ode of how it all started from when you started doing it.
Oh, dude, like, that's just like, that was it. I was just like, yo, I was just proud. I was like, yo, that shit totally adds context to, like, the scene in a very positive way.
From, like, someone who's, like,
Yeah.
man, the older statesman, like, alphabet head,
Yeah.
to being, like, someone who Young Ghost is,
Yeah.
Young Ghost isn't just been out, I mean, he's been out here, like, working on his craft to the point that he is, we've built that friendship and that relationship.
Ghost is out here, man, doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
You know, he's been out here doing the damn thing. I was super impressed when I found out, before I really knew him, that he put on all his own shows.
Yeah.
You know, it's that thing again. But he been out here, but just like the way that they, I don't know, like just the way that they complement each other is super awesome. Like the way that they've managed to like find a place that like is two very different styles that like gel very well. It's like, you know, that shit doesn't happen every day.
Nah, not at all.
Yeah.
And that's why I've got massive respect for anyone who, like, power of collaborations, and, like, you know, in collaboration, it does sound good, but, like, it might sound good, but then you know the ones that, like, transcend that because of just the relationship that, like, that they obviously do have, man. Like, dynamic duos of fucking iconic.
Yeah,
And
also,
hip-hop,
yeah.
and also just groups that are
I was
iconic
gonna
in the
say,
world.
I'm a big fan of two-man groups or two-person groups.
Who are your favourite two-man groups, like outside of hip-hop or just in general? Like, I've got a few in my head, man. Like, they're pretty classic and pretty, man.
Simon and Garfunkel. Was that gonna register?
Yeah, Mum listened to that.
I don't know if that's what we're looking for here.
No, my mum listened to all of that.
But Run the Jewels.
Jules, yeah. LP,
Yeah.
Killer Mike, Outcast,
Outkast, yeah.
Mobb Deep.
Yeah, Mobb Deep, yeah. Like, I'm a fan of the two-man group, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the two-man group. I feel like two people could accomplish a lot of shit.
As one of the, as you said before, it's like someone else, like when we were talking to the homies that pulled up. Shout out Don Busy, by the way. It deserves a shout out. But like just where it isn't just you.
Yeah.
It's someone else.
Yeah.
So it's like someone else who might be good at some of the shit that you don't like, but then can excel at things that they you lean on each other, man.
Totally, man. Like in situations when you got like 2 or 3 people, you can really play to your strengths in those situations. I find. I don't know. I've seen it a lot. You know, like collaborations between two people is just such an even cut of what's gonna happen. You know, it's such a 50-50 of what's gonna happen. You know, you can really play to your strengths in that. You know, in that.
Or
form.
you want to bring to the table.
Yeah, you can really. You know.
Exactly. I mean, let alone in the actual band
Other
collectives
people-
like Raw Collective and things like that. When you have I feel we personally in Aotearoa have like some of the best bands in the world.
That shit
For
is.
whatever reason,
I mean, that shit is different. You know, like that shit is like a whole nother ecosystem because that's like 9-10 people.
yeah, so then it's even gnarlier
You
than
know,
of how can you sync up.
That's different. That's like herding cats. That's a crazy job.
Oh,
Shout out to Raw D's, man. He does the fucking job of getting us from A to B, man. Like, shout out to Rory, man. It's a hard undertaking, but that, man.
Well,
Raw D's makes that shit happen.
with 8 people, they're one too, but just the power of collaboration of, it isn't just one person, but people come and do, they've got their strengths and their weaknesses. But that's somehow like the best ones that end up succeeding and pushing through, the ones who understand that and able to chop it up. But bro, I'm looking down there, bro. Man, I've been doing for a whole hour, and I just like urge you, man. If you're out in Napier, and you want to listen to like a show that isn't just hip hop, it's just like good people doing good music. Pull up.
Yeah,
But then also get familiar with just like what you do and just handles and all that Instagram stuff will be in the thing.
Come hang out and stuff.
And I'm just looking forward to it, man. If you hear like, if there's anything that like caught your eye, caught your ear, when listening back to this, like, let us know, because there's a lot of gems in there in terms of just life, and you can apply that to a lot of different stuff.
Totally,
Yeah,
man.
Awesome. Bro, shut up, bro.
Hey,
honestly, bro.
thank you,
It was a
bro.
mean combo.
I appreciate that shit.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to Napier. And just
Me
like,
too, bro.
and I'm just
Me too.
looking forward to people hearing this back and being real. So shout out to everyone out there. Hope you enjoyed this.
If you have listened
Yeah,
and you've concluded this podcast,
Wizard.
thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. And
Good
Wizard.
evening. Good
Shot.
day. Good evening.
Later. Boy. Ah.